take it however you want. But they state that Scarlett Johansson is in talks to join the Batman too. And this is an exclusive from them. And essentially, when you get into the news of this all, it seems like Emma Stone, yes, that Emma Stone, Academy Award winning Emma Stone, the one from La La Land, the one that was in, Easy A, that Emma Stone was originally in talks. She was originally in talks to be in the Penguin, or not the Penguin, the Batman Part 2. It really is the Penguin. And nobody cares about the Batman in this movie anyways. But, but she was originally in talks, but she didn't really care for it. So went to Scarlett Johansson. And it seems like she told her team, like, let's get on it. We need to get on it. As soon as Emma dropped out, she was like, I want in on it. There's now discussion like, who could she be playing? Now, that is very interesting because for me, I just don't know. Like, there's that Court of Owls angle that everybody thinks this series is moving into. So could she be playing a member of the Court of Owls of some sort? Will she be playing a love interest of Bruce Wayne's? To me, I find it, do they really want, like, first off, Scarlett Johansson's just like eating up every franchise at this point. Like, she left, like, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. Next, we'll find out she's cast in the Harry Potter series, I'm sure. But, like, do you have any thoughts on who she could play, what she could be doing in this movie?
Yeah, I don't see it happening, this one, but this one came up to my mind. Like, there's a new comic run from DC. It's Detective Comics. Tom Taylor, who's a very famous writer, took over it earlier, like a year ago. And I forget the girl's name, but she has purple hair and she actually looked good, which I know you never see a girl look good with purple hair, but she did. And basically, Bruce Wayne is aging in the story, and she, makes this medicine to help him, but it's obviously super corrupt, and he takes her and the business down. I thought that was really cool. But the reason I didn't see that happening, as much as that's who I would love to see. I really like that character, even though I'm blanking on her name, is because I feel like that's something that's a little sci-fi, but reasonable for this world. I don't really like the Vicky Vale call. I don't like the Poison Ivy call. It's not that I wouldn't love to see Scarlett Johansson play those roles. It's just I don't think that she would do Vicky Vale. I don't think Vicky Vale is a big enough of a role for her, and I don't see Poison Ivy fitting into this universe. Maybe something like Oracle or Stephanie Brown, maybe she's going to be a member of the Bat family. There's always that possibility. I think a lot of people are so, gung-ho on wanting to see Dick Grayson that people kind of overlook the fact that there are, female members of the Bat family she could be playing, and those roles would be big enough for her. You're on mute.
There we go. The big rumor is that she could be playing Phantasm, Andrea Beaumont.
Right.
That is a big rumor. And I don't know if I like that. But again, maybe that's the route they go. It's at this point, like, what could they do? I mean, looking at some of the things we've seen, there's even some saying that she could just simply play the wife of Harvey Dent. Some say Huntress. Like, it's so wacky. Like, nobody really knows what she could be playing at this point. Personally, first off, adding talent to a movie like this is like, yes, you want to do that, and she is a talented actress, absolutely. I wonder if they're going to do it for the right reasons and not just create a character to fit her. But it doesn't sound like that because they were looking at Emma Stone, so I don't know. It's really bizarre. I think I'm coming on, like, people may think I'm coming at this in a negative way. and maybe I am because I'm just not the biggest fan of this franchise, but I don't know. I don't
I
know.
think
I don't know.
I think it's very difficult to say because we don't know much about the plot. We don't know who the villain is. We don't know. So, the other thing I don't want to see is her play a love interest. Like, I think that that's a bad move because, Zoe Isabella Kravitz did a phenomenal job as Catwoman. And what I don't want to see is her just being compared to that because I'm not saying she could outdo her or not outdo her. I just
Yeah.
think that, like, the second you play the comparison game with the love interest, you're going down a road where a lot of fans are going to agree that it's better and a lot of fans are going to think it's worse. And at the end of the day, it's only going to hurt the reception of the movie. I don't think the move is to go into the love interest. You don't have to do that just because you don't have Catwoman at this point. But I think it's hard to say. As much as I love Mask of Phantasm, and that was like my favorite animated thing ever growing up, I don't like that idea also because I don't like when there's only one story of a character because it's like, okay, now we know what's going to happen unless you're going to be taking crazy creative liberties where she really isn't prevalent in the comics. She's been in like the Batman and Catwoman run by Tom King, and she's had a couple other very small appearances, but she has not had a significant role in really the comics at all. And there's only that one animated story they made about her in the 90s. So, yes, does she look like the character? Would she knock it out of the park? Yes. But as someone who reads a ton of comics, I'd like a role where I am not sure as to what's going to happen with the character.
Yeah. It'll be interesting for sure. I'm sure we'll start to get more details on what the story is, who the villain is, and where they're taking Batman within the next, few weeks to month or two, because shooting for this really does begin in a couple months. And from what I understand, they're supposed to start doing some, um, like what's it called? I can't think of what I'm trying to think of here. Some outdoor
Pre-production
shots.
shoots,
What's that?
pre-production photography.
Yeah, pre-production photography in like Glasgow starting in December.
Right.
Specifically because of the winter months. They want to get some of those shots done in December. So we'll see. I mean, that obviously when they do those kind of shots, it doesn't typically have actors in them and things like that. It could just have extras, just people walking around. But in a few, I'd say probably by March, we're gonna have pretty much an idea of what's happening on set, because we always they have to shoot outside, and we're absolutely going to get leaked photos, and we're going to start to get an idea of what's going on. I think. Now, then again, they were pretty good at keeping a tight lip on Clayface, even though we got those leaked photos. We got
Yeah.
so, but we'll see. We will see.
I feel like I'm the only person that's excited about that movie.
No, I'm absolutely excited about it.
Okay. All right. Love to hear
The
it.
problem is I'm more excited about Supergirl than Clayface, but I'm still
Yeah.
excited for Clayface. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
I
So
love
it's
Clayface.
kind of like,
I love Clayface. Yeah.
All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Scarlett Johansson possibly. Remember, take this with a bit of grain of salt because, it is coming from Nexus Point News. And since then, there's been a little more information that's come out about it, but still take it with a grain of salt. What do you think about her possibly joining the cast of The Batman Part 2? All right, next up, we are going to get into Supergirl. So this here, come on. This here is the first look at the Supergirl logo, which is not great. It is not a great high-res image at all, because this was taken from CCXP, probably, somebody using their cell phone, recording a video that James Gunn had on screen where he was talking to the fans that were in early attendance at CCXP. And basically, he was talking about how, one, they're going to get a special sneak peek at CCXP this weekend of Supergirl, which is awesome, which we kind of figured was going to happen anyways. But now we have the confirmation. But the logo, this is the first look of the official logo of Supergirl. It's very reminiscent of Superman's logo, just slightly different. Now, that's okay. I mean, it's got the emblem, the House of L logo emblem, and Supergirl is kind of just a different font. Okay. What they're doing is just kind of building continuity and consistency with the design and everything, which is perfect for a brand. I like that. That's not so much what I want to talk about, because what I want to talk about is the fact that we're getting a freaking teaser. We're getting something. Apparently, they're going to show some kind of footage to fans in attendance this weekend. And then there was some information, some news that came out that apparently DC Studios is going to show something to the press on Sunday. So Sunday, the press is going to get to see something, whether it's going to be the same thing, maybe extended, or slightly different than what they're showing the fans on Saturday, or if it's going to be the same thing, or what. We don't know yet. But the rumor on the street is fans in attendance are going to get to see something. It could be something exclusive just to CCXP. Sunday, the press and some lucky folks are going to get to see something else. We could then see a teaser on Monday. That's the speculation. However, there is a good chance that we won't see it until, say, Thursday. And the reason why I say that is because it's very similar to what they did with Superman last year. Because Superman last year, they had a special event for press and influencers. They went and saw the teaser for Superman. But then after they did that, they had like days of build up to the trailer or to the teaser. Remember that? Where it was like on Monday, they were like, here's a little piece of this coming Thursday. Then Tuesday, here's a little piece of this and a little tease. And then Wednesday, coming tomorrow. And then boom, we got the teaser. Are they going to follow that same structure? Maybe, maybe not. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I wouldn't be surprised. It very well could fall on Monday. But Monday just seems really random. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any reason for it to fall Monday. But building up the anticipation and the excitement, because that's the thing they need to keep doing with DC still, is just building excitement. Excitement. That's what they need to keep doing. So what do you think? What do you think they're going to do? And are you excited?
I'm super excited. At first I wasn't so excited about this movie. I was like, listen, I'm much more excited for Lanterns, but now that we saw the suit, like I'm starting to get more excited. I think the logo and the suit look exactly how I imagined it would have looked. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope we get the score. I hope the score is reminiscent of the Superman score. I think it should be a little different just because their personalities are different, obviously. But like, it was so exciting when we got the score and then the trailer. I still think the score was my favorite thing that we got that week. As great as the trailer was, that score was insane. And, DC needs this right now. Like, they are, we've been talking about the DCU for so long, but it's easy to forget that we're at the very early stage of this. So like you said, they absolutely need to keep building and building and building excitement. So it's really important. And I am confident that James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to be playing their cards right this week. However they do it, I'm expecting to be impressed.
Yeah, so am I. And, honestly, I think this is either way they play it, it's going to be fine. I think whether they drop it Monday, whether they delay it and hype it up, people are going to be excited. Fans, audience, they're going to be excited. They're going to see this. By all accounts, what has leaked out, if what has leaked out is true, it sounds exciting. It sounds fun. If it's false, I have all the faith in the world that what they do show is going to be fun and exciting. But regardless, we're this close. We're this close to finally seeing actual footage of Supergirl, which is so amazing because once we get footage from Supergirl, then we're just 10 feet away from footage for Lanterns and Clayface. And then, you know, once we start getting that stuff, and then those projects start coming out, then we're in the middle of it with Man of Tomorrow and the Jimmy Olsen show and so much more. Like, it's just nonstop at that point. We're just going to keep getting. So it's just so exciting to be a DC fan right now. It really is.
It's great. I want to update a prediction that I've made. And I know some of the guys that watch your show who also, you know, DM me and ask me a couple questions about what I think is coming. And one of the big questions that everyone's asking is, when are we going to get a Batman update? And I want to say that I don't think it's going to come from CCXP. I think at one point I said it could have, but the problem with here's the thing. If they put that Batman update out this CCXP, it's going to overshadow Supergirl, and they have to be focused on selling tickets and optimizing Supergirl's performance in box office. And the way to not do that is to announce anything related to Batman, because it's going to completely overshadow it.
100% right. Yeah. It's all about Supergirl this week for DC. I mean, this week is all about Supergirl. And, you know, I see here Donovan says they are releasing it Monday because Doomsday is next week. You're 100% right. It'll probably come Monday. That's a great point because of Doomsday is being released next week. But still, Thursday is still before technically, because rumor has it that Doomsday will release on Friday. However, they may release Doomsday early. There's also rumors about Doomsday's trailer. There being 3 Doomsday trailers, and that they're going to want you to go back to the theater and watch it multiple times, or that they may release one online and a different one in the theaters. Like, there's so many rumors around Doomsday's trailer right now that who the heck knows what's going on with that. But yeah, you're right. They're going to want to release this before Doomsday so they can get some of that excitement and some of that conversation for as long as they can. Releasing it Monday or Tuesday will probably do that. So maybe it could be like Tuesday, where Monday they say, here's a little tease, tomorrow the Supergirl trailer or something like that. So yeah, I mean, they could play it both ways. Monday, again, it seems random, but it is possible. It is possible. All right. Here's a suit. Yeah, can't forget the suit. I pulled it up. This is the suit. It does look slightly different than what she was wearing in Superman. The belt's a little bit different, and the emblem looks a little more what's the word I'm looking for? A little more
rubberized.
Not rubberized, but just, I mean, it does look a little more, but it looks more like words, but you know, there. Like, there's more to it here than it was in the movie of Superman. But yeah, it looks great. I mean, the suit looks great. This is from the side. I mean, again, you know, people complained about Henry Cavill suit, or not Henry Cavill suit. Jeez, David Corn sweatsuit. Wow.
People complain about Henry Cavill's suit.
Yeah. David Corn's sweatsuit, but nobody's complaining about her suit. It's very bizarre because it's essentially the same suit. From the waist up, it is almost the same exact suit, just form fitted for a woman. Yet you're not hearing anyone complain. Not hearing anyone complain.
Like, it's almost like they think the suit looks good, and they know, and if they try to criticize it, they're going to look silly.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, it's objectively a good looking suit. Like, there's nothing to criticize about this suit. It literally looks like the perfect female version of the Superman suit.
Yeah, and that's what I you know, from what I'm gathering, because we haven't gotten any history on the suit or Superman suit or Supergirl suit at all yet. It's very well possible that the same person made it, or it came from the same place. It's either Kryptonian, so they came from, you know, the suits specifically came from Krypton, or Clark's mother made both of them. Yeah. And that would be adorable if, you know, knowing now what kind of mom Clark has, you know, could you imagine her being the one that helps make these suits? That would just be adorable. But, you know, again, it's great because it looks just like his suit, and it looks great, just as Superman's suit looked great. and I think it's going to work great on film. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
I didn't get a great image here. I didn't pull or save an image of the boots, but the boots look great because they go above the knee, which is really cool. So yeah, I'm all for it. I can't wait for this movie. Can't wait to see a first look of the film, which we're going to get in mere days. That's for sure.
Very exciting.
All right, everyone. Kevco says the suit is perfect in my opinion. Indeed. Trevon says Brandon Routh is less than Henry Cavill. Okay.
I think he's trying to say Henry Cavill is better than Brandon Routh.
Maybe that's what he was trying to say. I don't know. Yeah. Donovan says, "Call Me Blondie will be the music." I mean, that's the rumor. That's the rumor. Let's see. Donovan says, "I love the silver border for the logo, which is this here." Yeah, again, it looks just like the Superman logo was, but just slightly different. You know, the borders are a bit different. The font for Supergirl is different. I mean, it's just different enough so you know, hey, this isn't Superman. This is Supergirl. It's a little bit different. That's okay.
Yeah. I love the like gradient glow on the gold part of it. That's really a nice touch.
Trayvon says, yeah, greater than. Hunter asked, did I see his comment on Comics Cuts channel? What comment are you talking about here, Hunty? Are you talking about this one here about Sean O'Rourke? I mean, Sean, we know Sean makes, crazy comments. It is what it is at this point. Like, don't get upset about it.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. Just move on. I mean, we got Supergirl to look forward to. We got Lanterns. We got Clayface. We got a lot of great things coming in the next 12 months or less. Like, let's look forward to that.
Be grateful that we're not the ones that are making delusional videos every single day.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and we got some great things coming from my channel in the very near future. Some big things are coming. Yep. So look forward to that as well. Like we got some great things happening. So just be excited. That's all. Don't worry about the other people right now. Let me worry about them and make fun of them whenever I want to.
Which you're very good at.
All right. Anyways, let's move on to the big story. Netflix, and this is coming straight from Netflix, guys, to acquire Warner Brothers following the separation of Discovery Global for a total enterprise value of $82.7 billion, which is an equity value of $72 billion. Now, this news hit late last night. I believe Deadline was the first to actually report on it. Then all the other outlets started reporting on it and confirming it. And it started getting out there like crazy. It was like 11 p.m. last night. I was already in bed. Didn't see anything about it. I woke up this morning, started getting ready, for work. And my routine is I'm the first one in the house to wake up. I wake up, I start getting ready for work. And then I go sit down and start, just relaxing. Like I take like 25 minutes where I just can relax before I start waking up all the kids to get ready for daycare and school and stuff like that. So I sit down and I just pull up Twitter and I'm like, what the hell? I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I couldn't believe that I saw it, because then I saw one post and I saw another post and I was like, okay, I saw two posts and I was like, I have to verify this. Like, I can't just, this can't be real. Like, this can't be real life, because let's face it, everybody, not just me, but everybody for the most part. Yeah, I get it. There were some people who were like, sells ESJL to Netflix, sells ESJL to Netflix. Those people were all like, yeah, it's going to happen. But they weren't the people who were like really paying attention and following along to the intricacies of what was happening. the people who are following, the people who are sitting there reading the stories on a daily basis, really paying attention to what Paramount was doing, what Netflix was doing, what Universal was doing, and all the other companies, none of them thought that Netflix would come out ahead here. None of them. Everybody truly believed Paramount was going to pull it off. Keep that in the back of your mind for now, though. So the fact that that popped up this morning, it's like, whoa, okay, this can't be real. So I do my verification, I check, and by God, I mean, it was real. Like, it happened. Now, Netflix, they do a whole thing. They put out a statement that, hey, this is happening, that this is their mission, and they're going to do it. Now, from that point forward, all day, outlets and pundits and people have just been putting out information because there are many, 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 many questions about what does this mean? What does this mean for Warner Brothers Discovery, the executives there, HBO Max? What does it mean for theaters? What does it mean for so much? Like, there's so many questions about it. One of the biggest questions, of course, is are the politicians and the regulators in the United States even going to let this happen? Like, there's a lot of questions there. So that's kind of what we are going to talk about here for the rest of the show. But before we get into that, I want to know, I mean, Jerry, like, what do you think? Like, what is your reaction? Like, first off, what was your immediate reaction? And what, like, is this what you saw happening?
For a second, because of all the hype, I thought Paramount might have done it. But from day one, I believed in Netflix. And to give you a little background, like, I've been a fan of Netflix's company since day one. I've been a huge fan of movies since I was a kid. So when Netflix came out, I was one of the first people that, subscribed, was, having them send DVDs. And I liked what they did as a company back then because I like disruptors. I've always been about innovative companies. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Blockbuster used to censor certain scenes, and they would force their hand in certain movies. And most people didn't know this, but you could rent a movie from Blockbuster and a scene of the movie would be missing, or it wouldn't be in the widescreen format that the director intended. And Netflix never put their hand on the scale in that way. Obviously, they have put their hand on the scale in terms of propaganda and programming in different ways since they've done streaming. But my point is Netflix is an innovative company. They're smart. I have some concerns, but there's a lot of things I'm excited about. I think that, first of all, I think the big concern for all of us movie fans is the movie theater experience going to die? And I hate to break it to you. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to die fully. I think movie theaters will always be around, but I think the format and the cycle in which movies are released is going to change drastically, and this is racing us towards that. However, even if this didn't happen as a catalyst, something else was bound to happen as this catalyst. So you could point your fingers at this all you want. If it wasn't Netflix, it was going to be someone else, but Netflix is the leader of the pack. They have the most cash. They have the most data. They are the king. And this only elevated them as the king that much more. I do have concerns about, their political leanings and how they could tip their scale on the hands that way. But a lot of people had those concerns about Paramount too. So no matter which way you sliced it, there are going to be people that aren't happy about this for political reasons. But I think that, listen, they have I know they have contracts, I believe, till 2029 or 2030, where they have to, Warner Brothers has to continue releasing their movies in theaters up until then. I think HBO Max, that's done. As soon as they're able to wrap that into Netflix, that's their number one thing. They're not buying this company for $72 billion to not roll HBO Max into Netflix. That's like their number one priority. And as far as physical media, that's a concern of mine too, because, Kevco just, put me on to the 4K player. I just got it. I just started rebuying physical media. I'm worried that when Man of Tomorrow comes out, is Netflix going to decide to not release that on 4K UHD because they'd rather keep it on their streaming platform to make sure people who really want that movie stay subscribed to Netflix and things like that.
Just so you guys know, I am starring comments, so I hit ones that are interesting. I may not be able to hit all the comments, but I am going to hit as many as I can through here. So I am seeing comments and starring them so I can get to them. Yeah, I mean, you hit a lot of points that I agree with. One of the big ones that you hit there is, if it wasn't going to be Netflix right now, it was going to be somebody at some point. And I kind of made a small little post, small, but it's actually kind of a large post on X today that kind of addressed some of these issues that people were afraid of, such as too much power for one company. Because this is an interesting one that people are saying, like, hey, if this deal goes through, you have the largest streaming service, Netflix, taking over Warner Brothers, which would then have HBO Max, which is the third largest streamer. And that would give them way too much power. That would put them pretty much at the top of the spectrum completely. But there is always going to be somebody at the top. And that's the thing that people don't seem to realize. If it's not Netflix, it's going to be somebody else. And whether it's somebody obtaining things, things slowly and in small doses, if Paramount would do this, that would boost them up to the top of the ranks as well. So again, because it's Netflix, people are freaking out because it's almost like they're an outsider, and people are afraid of that whole aspect. And again, it leads to the large streamer integration. And we know this was always going to happen. I've talked about this for years, really, before I even had this channel. When I was still doing Bridging the Geekdoms, I talked about this for a while, that there was going to be a time when streamers started to integrate with each other on a large scale. These companies were going to have to start combining, and it sucks, but that's what was going to happen. This is just the first step in that direction. But then you talk about reduced competition for consumers. And I say, welcome to capitalism. Because I do hate this. I hate the fact that Netflix is most likely going to go up in price. HBO Max is definitely going to go up in price. So you think about it, they're spending almost $100 billion on this, roughly. I mean, there's no way that they're not going to pass that cost on to the consumers in some way, form or fashion. Plus, you're getting fewer options in the long run when the inevitable does happen, where HBO Max and Netflix do combine. Now, granted, they're saying right now, David Zaslav is saying right now, that the plan is to keep them separated. That is the plan right now, to keep HBO Max separate from Netflix. Again, that's the plan right now. But if that's the plan right now, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 7 years from now, it's a completely different ball game. And they may say, you know what? It's not fiscally sound for us to keep them separated. It's going to be better to combine them. Look what Disney's doing with Hulu right now.
Yeah.
Their whole thing was, we're keeping them separate. And now they've combined Hulu and Disney. The same thing's going to happen. You just know it's going to happen. So in my opinion, look, if you don't agree with it, don't buy it. Don't invest your money into it. That is the option that you have. Another big problem is reduced options for talent. So filmmakers and actors and stuff, you essentially lose a studio, because if you think about it, Warner Brothers is now Netflix. But is it? Because again, something that they're saying is Warner Brothers is going to be its own entity. It's not going to be Netflix all in one. Warner Brothers is still going to act as Warner Brothers once this deal goes through. Netflix will act as Netflix, as they have. Sure, there will be more oversight. Sure, Netflix will demand certain things, and heck, they may lower the output. It may happen. We saw it happen with Disney in 20th Century. But it will be another studio. However, because the output will be less, that means fewer options for filmmakers to make movies, actors to get jobs. And that is unfortunate. And that is one of the reasons why I hate this. But this isn't a Netflix only thing. This would have happened if it went to Paramount, if it went to Universal, if it went to Apple. Maybe less so if it went to Apple because Apple's more of a tech company, but it still would have happened. But here's the one thing that I think is a little bit of a bright thing to look at. Ellison's not done. Don't count him out yet. He's going to put pressure on this. He already is. He's already freaking out. Charles Gasparino on X, who is a financial expert, I believe, on one of the maybe Fox Business or something like that, is saying that Paramount is looking to launch a hostile bid because they feel that its $30 a share all cash offer that they made was actually higher than what Netflix offered in terms of cash, stock, and the value of the spinoff of the cable businesses. So the story is obviously still developing. This was back earlier this afternoon. They're not done. Like, Ellison is determined. He wants Warner Brothers. He really, really wants it. Is he going to be able to match or not even? I don't think it's even matching at this point. He has to do better than $87.2 billion. He has to. And that's money up front, not just stock options. That is money up front. If he can do it, there's a good possibility Paramount still comes out the victors here. And that's something that people don't seem to get and understand, that this is not a done deal. The fact that Warner Brothers Discovery and Netflix right now are just sitting there and saying, hey, we're sitting here and having conversations to really knock out and finalize this deal. It's not done. Because keep in mind, anything can happen between now and when pen is to paper and cash is exchanged and everything is approved. Anything can happen.
If it doesn't happen, what's crazy is that Netflix is writing a $5 billion check to Warner Brothers if it doesn't go through. That's number one. Number two, Netflix is financing, I'm pretty sure, 66, something like 2/3 of the deal. So the fact that Paramount has to do it all cash if they're going to do it is insane. Also, when Warner Brothers came out of AT&T, it was going around $16 a share. That was just a couple of years ago. So now that it's going to $30 a share is insane. And anyone who is going to pretend that David Zaslav didn't do a good job at this point is lying to themselves, and they're lying to you, and they are just as bad as the Aaron Fishers of the world who are telling you the Snyderverse is restored, okay? Because that is BS. If you double a company's worth at the size of Warner Brothers in that short of a time, you are a boss. Period.
Wasn't it more than double? Because weren't they at, like, when Warner Brothers got taken over by Discovery, weren't their shares at like $12? Like, wasn't it like valued at like $12 or something like that? Like,
I think it was even
low.
less. I think the average for that time was 16 though.
But don't remember, not only is that, so that was when they got taken over.
Yeah.
It was down to like $6.
Yeah.
It went as low as $6 at one point, and now somebody is buying it for $30 a share. That is the power of Zaslav.
Yeah. So listen, there might be a lot of people who don't like him for some reasons, but to discredit that is dishonest. Period. The other thing that you have to remember, think of someone at the caliber of David Zaslav. That's who he's in the room with. And Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos said, what is the consumer trying to tell us? That they'd like to watch movies at home. Thank you. The studios and the theaters are duking it out over trying to preserve this 45-day window that is completely out of step with the consumer experience of just loving a movie. I know a lot of you are hearing this quote and you hate it. I'm going to give you the harsh reality. There's a lot of Americans that are hearing that and are like, oh, he's right. I agree. And keep in mind, during COVID, if someone said this during COVID, the entire country would have loved hearing it. The other thing is a lot of people are still fighting for remote work. A lot of people want remote work. So that whole thing of more luxury and, more service at home, America is continuing to go in that direction. I don't think the remote work thing is happening. I'm just saying a lot of people do support the remote work thing who I know are going to be against this. But I do know, I think if you ask most Americans, they'd say, yeah, I'd like to be able to watch movies at home. I really do. I think that we live in a bubble of movie nerds and we love going to the movie theater. Full transparency, if you gave me an option to watch Superman the day of release at home or in theaters, I would have said I wanted to watch it at home any day of the week. I like my setup at home. I have a great setup. I don't like going to the movies. I don't like sitting next to people who are annoying or loud or on their phone. It's a pain in the neck. I have to go out of my way. So, but I don't want the movie theater experience to fully die, but I've come to accept the fact that it's going to be reformed. I think movie theaters are going to be somewhat of a novelty. A lot of them are going to close down. There's going to be special screenings of movies. It's already happening now. I mean, they keep bringing back old movies to go into the theaters, to bring people to the theaters. Like the movie theaters are not doing well. And, what Ted Sarandos said, that is a savvy way to sell it. And that's what a lot of the guys in the room are going to be doing. They're going to be taking their agendas and they're not just going to be saying what they want. They're going to make sure they position what they want as what they want everyone else to want, because they want to make sure that they are gaining support for their agendas.
100%. 100%. Now, the biggest problem is, when you're talking about theaters, people going to theaters, things like that. Theaters will always be around, and that's going to be a thing. Will they be niche? Will they not be niche? Will they still be as big as they are? Like when you talk about big tentpole, there we go, tentpole films, they need to be out. They need to. And like Donovan says, I think, oh, come on. He says, I think theaters will be niche, but won't die like completely. And he's right. But you're not wrong. Like people like to stay at home. People like to sit at home and watch movies. I actually am in the middle of writing an article, which I'm hoping to get completed tomorrow morning, where I talk about what happened to theaters, what caused this to happen, because there's a lot of talk today that has been Netflix is what happened to theaters. And they're like, Netflix killed Blockbuster and the brick and mortar rental stores. And now they're killing theaters. It's like, believe it or not, Netflix didn't do that. If you want to get down to it, and here's a little tease for my article that I hope drops tomorrow. It was actually the legacy Hollywood studios that killed the theater. And I get into it in my article. So it's really interesting to understand what it is that actually caused it. Sure, concessions are high and that sucks. And people don't want to pay for concessions and ticket prices suck. Sure. But it's more than that. And once you start to see the data and understand what happened over the last 10, 15 years, you start to realize, wow, it really wasn't Netflix. Yeah. So it's really interesting. But yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong that this has been a direction that things have been moving in, but it's not because of Netflix. Right. It isn't. They're just following. They were just riding the wave. That's really what happened. They're just like, hey, we're gonna ride this wave, and we're doing our own thing. And oh, look, we can buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's buy it. That's what they're doing.
Also, like, it's capitalism. So these companies want to meet us where our dollars are willing to be spent. AKA, that's why you always say, meet the customer where they are.
Yeah, oh, exactly. I want to move on because there's a lot more to talk, and there's a lot to talk about here. I don't even think we're gonna be able to get through all of it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Now, there is this news that also popped up because I want to get into the DC side of things. I do. I want to talk a bit about that because the big concern for DC fans is, what does this mean for James Gunn? What does it mean for Peter Safran? Like, what does it mean for things moving forward? Now, the one thing that's happening with this sale, mind you, is if it goes through, if everything keeps moving forward, this sale doesn't actually start to take place until the earliest Q3 of next year. The reason for that is because they have to wait until Warner Brothers, separates from Discovery. Like that whole idea that they're a thing that they're doing, they have to wait for that happen. And we talked about this weeks ago on my channel, and I kept saying, look, if a company isn't going to buy the whole company, they're going to have to wait for it to separate, and that's what's happening. So that's expected to now happen in Q3 of next year. So that could be September, maybe next year, like that. Who knows? That's when it can happen. So let's just say it's September. So next September, it separates. And at that point in time, that's when the sale can happen and everything gets pushed to the political side, the regulators, and everything like that. At that point, you are looking at most likely a year to 18 months before it gets approved and is approved. Sure, before then, talks are going to be happening. There's going to be pushback. There's going to be lobbyists and backdoor deals going on before then that shouldn't be going on. Things are going to happen because that's what happens in politics. Absolutely. I understand it. You understand it. That's going to happen. But when it comes down to it, it's not going to really officially start until Q3 of next year. And that's when the lawyers are going to get involved. That's when everything's going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. It could happen in 10 months after that. It could, boom, get done and wow, it's done and we're ready to go. Awesome. But it could take up to 2 years. And we've seen that there have been times when things have gone for 2 years or more. And I did have it in my article here. Where is it at? Man, I lost it. I should have pulled it up here. Oh, here it is. The Disney-Fox merger took 2 years. AT&T, when they bought Time Warner, took 20 months. Recently, the Microsoft-Activision merger dragged out for almost 2 years. And then the Discovery-Warner Media one was 11 plus months. So you get a kind of an idea of how long these things kind of take. It's not a fast thing.
And keep in mind, during this time, Paramount's going to be trying to do a hostile takeover. So, like, none of this is set in stone yet. Netflix, you know what they're not doing today? They're not throwing themselves a victory party because they know it's not over.
Yeah, they know it's not over. They know it's not over. So what's going to happen? Because again, I need to get back to the DC side of things here. So what could happen with DC Studios, with James Gunn, with Peter Safran, and so on and so forth? What could happen? Now, the crazy thing is an announcement. No, not an announcement. I won't say it was an announcement, but it's been said that David Zaslav is going, if Netflix is the one, David Zaslav will be staying on as CEO of the Warner Brothers division after the merger, the sale, whatever, the acquisition is done. David Zaslav is staying on. Well, that's a good sign. Why is that a good sign? Because, well, he hired the two of them. He hired Gunn and Safran. He's the reason why they are there. Not only that, but he likes the two of them. He believes what they are doing has been done well. That's number one. Number two, this sale isn't going to happen, like I said, until after their contracts are expired. Their current contracts are expired, which means Zaslav is still the one who is going to extend their contract or not extend their contract, regardless of the sale. My guess is, and you probably agree with me on this, they're going to get an extension probably within the next 4 to 8 months from now. It's probably going to happen.
I think it's going to happen. I think that listen, and I want to address this because there's a lot of pieces here. Number one, like Slav said, Zaslav is happy with them. They performed well. I'm not going to say that Superman was $1 billion plus movie, but for the numbers that everyone was expecting going into it, they pulled out a W. It was a win. Okay. People are happy with Peacemaker, the people that watched it. And as much as we all want to see Batman and all that, and, there's going to be a lot of talk and, criticism from our bubble of the internet where, they don't have Batman, they don't have Wonder Woman or the Trinity. The MCU didn't start with Spider-Man. The MCU didn't start with the Fantastic Four. And look what the MCU became. So the DCU is going to be fine. They're going to have Superman. They're going to have Supergirl. They're going to have the Green Lanterns at the beginning of their universe. Those are enough compelling characters to build the foundation around. And we know Batman is coming, not ASAP, but he's coming at some point. So I think Zaslav is happy with them. But I also want to say, even if their contract extension or renewal was going to be decided by someone else would be an idiot to get rid of James Gunn and Peter Safran. James Gunn and Peter Safran, number one, have an amazing track record before the DCU. Number two, they've been doing a good enough job with the DCU to keep fans engaged, to keep investors happy, and also you would absolutely destroy the trust in the DC brand. They do not want another bring back the Snyderverse type of thing. They do not want people just giving up on the brand altogether. A lot of people see the DCU as the last chance for this brand to be fleshed out in cinemas. So, I just don't, I like, it would be a really bad decision to do that. And Netflix gave Zack Snyder a chance. Okay. But I also want to say something else. Forget Zack Snyder. If you were to hire someone to lead DC and you couldn't pick James Gunn, who would you pick? Who would you pick?
Me.
Slav. Exactly. But my point is like, you couldn't even think of someone that would be able to do it other than James Gunn. You couldn't even think of someone. So, like, there's very few people that are right for this job, and to the point that you don't even have a name in your mind.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because with how everything is falling, and again, we're going off the basis that Netflix is the one. Again, we understand, we've talked about it here, that there is a possibility that Ellison and Paramount could come in at the last minute and make a deal, and it could come in. But let's just put that to the side. If Netflix is the one, if they continue being the one and the sale goes through, this somehow has become the best case scenario for them. And that's not to say that they weren't going to be safe at Paramount. That's not to say that they couldn't have been safe at Universal or Apple or somewhere else. But there's an interesting little tidbit here with Netflix that I think some people overlooked. Even I overlooked for months, because I was so angry at the idea of Netflix taking over, because I've never been on that train. I've never wanted Netflix to do this. Never did. So I overlooked this kind of stuff. So one of the big things is the fact that Netflix has no hold or no area of expertise when it comes to having any sort of superhero genre at all. They just don't. You take a look at Disney, they have their Marvel. You take a look at Universal, they have their own genres, and maybe not superhero, but they have their genres. They have their thing. They have all the different, why can't I think of it right now? Universal, the like, they have their Jurassic World and things like that. Like, they have their niche product. You take a look at Paramount, they have their niche products. Everybody, all these studios have their niche things. Netflix doesn't. Netflix doesn't have their product. Stranger Things, it's gone. Like, they have these TV shows that They explode for a little bit and then they disappear shortly thereafter. Having an established comic superhero genre studio come in and they just have it. It's theirs. They have it. And like I said, it's established. They have people running it that know what they're doing. They have it established. They have history because they have movies and projects and TV shows already made with some on the horizon. That's something that they're going to look at and say, well, shit, why are we going to mess with this right now? Now,
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree that if James Gunn and Peter Safran are sitting there and making a flop, if Supergirl is terrible, if Clayface sucks, if Man of Tomorrow is a complete disaster, yeah, no, they should not stay there and they need to figure out what the hell to do. I'm not going to sit there and disagree with that.
I agree.
But if it's success, or even if it's success and meh and success, they would be foolish not to continue it. You know, like that's the whole thing. They're not going to come in and say, oh, you had one that kind of underperformed, but the rest are looking good. We're going to get rid of you. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of the whole idea is this may be the best case scenario because they don't have anything else like this under their umbrella.
And it's
so they're getting something. What's that?
It's so needed. Like we live in a landscape of IP. Everything is about IP. I mean, I was talking
IP. That's the word I was looking for.
I was talking to my super the other day, and he was looking at all my new 4K movies, and he's like, Jerry, do you like? I can't do his accent, but he's like, do you like Transformers? He's like, I love Transformers. Those are my favorite movies. And it's just like everyone has their favorite IP. Everything is about IP. That's why Amazon was like, we need to get James Bond, and yeah, they have a couple other big IPs too. But if you look at the big moves in Hollywood, it's all been centered about buying or fleshing out IP in the past couple of years. Yeah. And that's why Warner Brothers is so valuable. And that's what Zaslav focused on with Warner Brothers, was building out those IPs. And now that's why Netflix wanted Warner Brothers. It's because it's an IP powerhouse. It's not just the DCU, it's Harry Potter and I'm blanking on some of the other words. They have big ones. They're like one of the biggest IP. If you go on HBO Max, you'll the Sopranos. I mean, they're not doing anything with that, but you get what I'm saying. It's all about IP and the DCU. And they tried Jupiter's Legacy. They did that show, and everyone hated it. Like they've never had a superhero thing. And I also want to say, in terms of the streaming, that was a big thing. In terms of the streaming war, all these streamers have been taking on debt to finance original content. And most of that original content, nobody is watching. All of these streamers, they're just building and building all this new original content. And most of that content, it's like something like 70 or 80% of it is not even being watched. It's crazy. Yeah. So, very few of them even have the size or capacity to compete with Netflix. I think Paramount's probably one of the only ones that can. And I'm not counting the Ellisons out because those guys are capable, but Netflix is just a behemoth. You can't play with that. I really do think it's going to go to Netflix at the end of the day. I really do.
Yeah. But then you have another really interesting aspect to it all because they have money that they're willing to just kind of throw around. Let's not forget that Warner Brothers Discovery for the last number of years has been in massive debt, and they have been afraid to spend money all willy-nilly. So everything that James Gunn has been doing lately has been with that in mind. Like, we can't just go balls to the walls. We have to pinch our pennies a little bit. Well, with Netflix coming in, they could very well say, look, we like what we're seeing, or, hey, you've done really well. let's open this wallet up a little bit more and see what you can do. And what that could eventually lead to is them having bigger successes. However, that could also lead to them having bigger disappointments. And with that could then lead to them being pushed out. Absolutely. I understand that. But that is a encouraging type of thing to look at, because yes, people are upset and like discouraged. Why don't we have Batman? Why don't we have Wonder Woman? Why don't we? Why don't we? Why don't we? Why don't we? Well, that's partially because Warner Brothers is not able to give them the amount of money needed to put 3 or 4 productions into production in a year, to get 2 to 3 or 4 movies, big budget movies out in a year, like Marvel was doing in their early years. Like that's just the fact of the matter right now. So they have to build up their profits and their box office and build up that, hey, we can do this. So by the time Netflix comes in, if they have these successes, Netflix can come in and say, wow, we're seeing these successes. Here's a little more extra money for you that, hey, we're willing to give you because we're Netflix. So that is really cool. And then we also have the side of things where Netflix, and look, I know some of you are gonna come at me on this, but then on the Netflix side, they may be more willing to do Elseworld projects. Okay, I'm not gonna say it, but this is an area where, look, if it's possible, this would be the only time I truly believe that it could be possible. But keep in mind, and you all know this, the man that would be responsible for this has just had 3 failed universes within Netflix. The man running Netflix movies does not like that man, and they refuse to give him money for a 4th project. So it's unlikely, but this is the only time I actually see, you know what? There might be a little bit of light there. A little bit of light there. And it's going to get obnoxious. I do agree it's going to get obnoxious. I do agree. But I do want to say that Warner Brothers getting bought by Netflix has nothing, 0 things to do with people hashtagging sell ZSJL to Netflix or sell Warner Brothers Discovery to Netflix. They didn't buy Netflix because people were, or they didn't buy Warner Brothers Discovery because people were hashtagging that stuff to Netflix. They don't care about that. They couldn't care less about that. They didn't spend they don't plan on spending $87 billion for 2 movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just make that clear. Okay. So that, if it were to happen, if it could happen, it's not going to be a decision that they make hastily. It's not going to be a decision that they sit down and say, oh, we bought this because we wanted to do it. No, it's going to be something that they sit down and say, you know what? We believe it's financially viable. We believe it's going to make us money. We believe it's going to do well for our streaming service and or for our theatrical performance. And this is why we're going to do it. If it doesn't hit those marks, they're not going to do it. And here's the kicker. 2 previous regimes of Warner Brothers did not think it would hit those marks. So it's unlikely that Netflix would think that. But I will say there's a little bit of light that it's a possibility, just because they're more willing to spend than other companies have been. So, yes, if you want to come at me and yell at me about it, go ahead. But I only say that because, as we were just talking, when it comes to IPs, they are going to want to pump out their IPs like crazy. Look, they got the theatrical rights for Lord of the Rings. You don't think that they're going to want to do something with that? They have the rights to Harry Potter. Look, they got a new Harry Potter series coming out, but you don't think they're going to go talk to J.K. Rowling and be like, give us more? They have the DC rights. You don't think that they're going to just put out as much DC content as possible? No, they're spending almost $100 billion, people. This is like one of the biggest entertainment acquisitions of all time. If this goes through, they're going to want to make their money back. And the way they do that is by utilizing all the IP that they got to get that money back. And if they think that they can make $5 off the Snyderverse, put the Snyderverse out. It's that simple. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say it, but again, yes, we're going to see the people out there claiming victory. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it, Joe. They're going to claim they did it, but they didn't. Okay.
They also claimed they claimed James Gunn was getting fired 3 months ago. Okay. So,
don't forget, it was also the Saudis who were going to bring it back. Also, Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder were going to run DC. Okay. Like, there's so much of it that is just so much bullshit behind it.
Makes no sense.
Okay. Like, you guys know I'm real with you all the time. Okay. I'm real with you. And I agree. I've said for months and years, it's not happening. It's not because Zack Snyder has been posting images. It's not because people are hashtagging. It's not because of this. If Netflix thinks it's a viable option to make them money, get more subscribers, they will do it. Full stop. That simple. That simple. So, yeah, I mean, that's where I leave all of that. But from a DC side of things, I think James Gunn and Peter Safran are safe right now. Apparently, John Campea, I didn't listen to his show today. I don't know if you did. Apparently, John Campea said Warner Brothers insider reaffirms James Gunn will stay on as co-CEO of DC Studios post Netflix acquisition. So that's encouraging. So everything I said about that maybe is true, or maybe I'm just not accurate and they're just like, yeah, it's happening. Like, who knows? So, like, the biggest thing is about all of this that we all of us have to remember, not you, not I, not the Snyder Bros, not the Snyder fans, not the clout chasers, not the con men. None of us know what's going to happen between now and when Warner Brothers Discovery is officially owned by a new company. None of us know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Not only that, we don't know what's going to happen after that.
Yeah.
It's all speculation. It's all speculation. We can sit there, we can speculate, we can talk about it, we can have fun. But look, we're just going off of all these reports, and there's going to be reports and reports and reports and reports going crazy from now until this is over. And honestly, I'm all for it. I'm all for talking about it because it's fun. But if we're going to be real here, like I said, if Supergirl flops, if Clayface flops, if Lanterns is a complete catastrophe, James Gunn is gone. Like, it's that simple. He's gone. And who knows what they do with DC then? They may just not do anything until the acquisition is complete, and they'll let the new company figure it out.
Yeah.
Does that mean Snyderverse is back? Not at all. But they may just stop at that point.
Yeah. At that point, like, if someone is paying $80 billion for DC, hypothetically, even if they scrap James Gunn, they're not going to bring back Zack Snyder because they're going to want to do it their way. And they're not going to want someone's vision, let alone someone like Zack Snyder, who's very stubborn and is very, like, what he said on Joe Rogan was, the second you tell me Batman can't kill, I'm like, well, now Batman's got to kill. Business executives don't like working with creatives like that.
Yeah. You're right, Willie. Netflix won because harsh critic bought stock in the company. That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Let me see some of these start comments that I hit. Donovan says, people like Robert Meyer Burnett think that Netflix is the worst because they aren't really artistic, but more data driven. I mean, I agree. Like that's one of the big reasons why I didn't like it, because they are more data driven and they aren't more for the artistic side of things. That's a big reason why I don't like them going that route with Netflix. I wrote a whole article about it. I think I talked about it on one of my podcasts weeks ago. I don't think they were the right fit. But despite me seeing that they're not a right fit, I'm going to look at the information I have today and discuss it and say, look, here are the positives. This is what I'm seeing as a positive today. They're saying the theatrical is going to be something that they look at, and they're still going to put things out theatrically. Sure, it may be a limited window. Sure, it may only be for 30 days as opposed to 45 days, but they're still going to look at theatrical. They're still going to keep Warner Brothers separate. They're still going to keep HBO Max separate. That's what we know today. And I'm going to look at that and say, look, I agree with that. I'm happy they're going to do that. And as long as they stick to that, sure, I'm all for it. I know in my mind and in my head that down the line, that's probably going to change. And my fears are going to come true. But for the time being, I can only go based off of what's happening right now.
And it's a very nuanced situation, all of this. Anyone who tells you it's a black and white or this is all good or all bad doesn't know what they're talking about, because there's so many moving pieces to it that if someone knows what they're talking about, they're going to be able to tell you, I like these things and I don't like these things. And if they say, I like everything about it, they don't know enough about it, because if they did, they would realize there are things that they like and dislike in any of these situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Critic Chris says James Gunn is the hater's best option for any chance of the Snyderverse coming back. It's true. He's the one that can make it happen.
Yeah.
Donovan's like, it's not going to happen, period. Felix said exactly. Thank you. I don't know what you're saying exactly. Thank you to, but sure. You're welcome. Let's see. What else do we got here? Anything else that's exciting? Willie says, if James Gunn goes, the Snyder Bros will have to make a new thumbnail. He's every story. It's very true. What are they gonna? How are they gonna make money on YouTube then? If James Gunn gets fired, I mean, come on.
Right.
All right, guys. This was a fun episode. We are going to talk about this for weeks to come. I'm sure we'll have more information to talk about it on Monday on the show. Comics, Jerry, man, thank you for joining me talking about this. Where can people find you?
At Comics Cuts on X and on YouTube.
Excellent. Do you have anything coming up that people should be looking out for?
Yeah, I'm going to be bringing the show back soon. Probably January. I might do, if I do a show next week, I'll let you guys know in advance. There's a possibility, but I am bringing the show back. And I'm going to be doing it weekly, and I'm going to be doing more long form content. So in the new year, look out for me, more long form content, around the comics and the movies, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited about it. I hope you guys are too. And, Slav has got a big change coming back to soon. So I'm really excited. I think you guys are going to love it. Slav puts in the work every day, and nobody deserves this more than this guy right here.
Thanks. Yeah. More on that in the coming weeks. Don't worry. You guys will hear about that in the coming weeks. I'm still working on the details and getting things all, squared away for that. So look for an announcement on that in the coming weeks. But yeah, some big changes for the channel are coming. So be on the lookout for that. All positive. But yeah, that's coming for sure. And, every time somebody says that I'm taking it back, because you were just saying I'm taking it back, about your channel, or something like that. I always think of Clerks 2. When Randall goes, it's okay, I'm taking it back. always think about Clerks 2. But yeah,
I would love for Netflix or anyone to get Kevin Smith making comedy movies again. We need
the thing is like Clerks 3 sucked. Like it sucked.
That is
Jay and Silent Bob reboot sucked. Like, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I loved some of his movies. I loved his older stuff. His newer stuff just isn't it anymore. And it's just, it's disappointing. Like, just stay podcasting, old man. Keep podcasting. But, but that's all right. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, I will be back on Monday to talk about everything going on in the world of pop culture, including DC, a lot of DC stuff, I'm sure, as well as what's going on with the Warner Brothers and Netflix stuff. Heck, maybe somebody else will be buying them as of Monday. Who knows? We shall see. But everybody, thank you for watching. And with all that said, I will catch you all later, I think, if I hit the right button. Oh, there we go, because everything's all weird because you did your thing. Okay, there we go, that button.